Tomorrow, I'm going to spend $9,379 on the Huddle01 node sale. I want to tell you today why I think node sales are the next up and coming, why I think the meme coin super cycle has really created this new breed of higher unlocks at TG, and really just explaining to you what the heck all of this means for someone that's brand new to crypto nodes. I hope you enjoy this kind of content. If you like it, like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. So just very quickly prefacing here, if you're someone that actually wants to get into crypto nodes, we have all kinds of opportunities with crypto nodes. If I'm personally going to be investing into a crypto node, then you will have the opportunity on our Discord Legion. It's first link in the description. Something I do have to say is, before people think that I got free crypto nodes from talking about this thing, I want to just fully disclose that I have not received any free crypto nodes for Huddle01. And I also want to say that I did not get any of the tier 1 whitelist spots. So I decided to give away all the tier 1 whitelist spots to our community because I want them to have the best pricing. I did take tier 2 spots. So full disclosure, I took some of the tier 2 spots because there was a lot left over. But in terms of the tier 1 spots, we gave all of them away to our community to give you guys the best advantage to set yourself up for success. A good reason that the crypto node play for us works so well is because our community can get awesome low tiers without a lot of friction. I mean, people are just coming onto the Discord, asking for them and getting them. It's that easy right now for crypto nodes. And that's why I believe in this narrative so much. So let's get into what's happened in terms of recent price performance with some of these node sales, right? To kind of tell you what's been going on in the crypto node world. So 𝐷 is pretty much the most recent big node sale launch that has happened. It happened on October 10th. It started at about a 300 mil FDV. Nowadays is hanging around that 755 million FDV and went up as high as like $1.3 billion. We got our nodes at less than a $300 million fully diluted valuation. And as it stands right now, we are about 30 days away from getting our money back. And this is a token that launched less than a month ago. So very quick here in terms of ROI for 𝐷 nodes. Of course, we still have to wait for whatever vesting schedule happens after that, and also for the unlocks. A lot of these node sales, they'll have you wait 120, 160 days to get all of your tokens. So something you should keep in mind when getting into these. Doesn't mean that Huddle was doing it, but something you should know about the crypto node ecosystem. But it's not just 𝐷. Aether was a good example of a node sale that launched that didn't have the best price performance in terms of a token, but had an incredible price performance in terms of the people that bought into the node sale. So if you didn't know, we bought into our Aether nodes, and this is, fully public on our channel. We gave away whitelist spots at a $300 million fully diluted valuation. And right now, even despite the fact that you see this chart that says minus 28%, right now the FDV on Aether is 1.89 billion. That's what, like a 5 to 7x. So we already have our ROI on our Aether nodes. We're just waiting for the unlock to happen. Like that's how crazy it is right now in terms of how much of a cook Aether has done. And that's with the token price that hasn't really appreciated because of the AI and gaming depression that's been happening lately. Another great example is Myria, which I actually bought Myria nodes the day they launched. The price actually went all the way from the 7s down to the 1s. People thought this thing was dead. And then all of a sudden we had a bull market. It hit a brand new all-time highs. I sold not at the all-time highs. I'm not going to lie, I'm not a perfect trader, but I sold around here. And that gave me instantaneous return on my investment for my Myria nodes. All of them. I spent 5 figures on these Myria nodes, and instantly I had ROI on these Myria nodes. You don't want to just sell every month, because if you sell every month, you're going to sell a bunch here, and then you're going to get some of that sell pressure here. But most of these node and tokens, they have these brief periods where they just go absolutely parabolic. So I usually wait and sell into token pumps rather than trying to go ahead and sell it monthly and just being, okay, it's fine. After you get your ROI, you can do whatever you want. But that's what I've personally been doing. Do your own due diligence. You can do whatever you want, right? And the last one I want to show you is a node sale that didn't go well for us, because it's not all just roses and sunshine. There are going to be node sales that inevitably don't do well. That's just kind of the name of the game. When you're doing investing early on, there's a high likelihood that these investments won't pan out for you. We got into these nodes around this price point. This token had already been launched for quite some time, and it didn't do well for us. I mean, let's be honest. Maybe it'll come back in the future, but as it stands, our Hytopia nodes have just not been producing. So when you get into node sales, I want you to not throw in your entire life savings. I don't want you to throw in $30,000 into a node sale. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think we need to be getting into node sales that are cheap, that are affordable at low valuations, giving us all of the recipes for success. We don't get into one node sale, we get into many different node sales to try to get that one hidden gem that will pay off all of the other ones. It's as simple as that. And that's a lot of the logic when it comes to what we're doing. We're not doing one node sale. We're doing many different node sales with the same exact amount to kind of spread it out evenly and increase our odds to make profit. When it comes to 𝐉 and Aether and Miriam, they paid off for pretty much every single node sale that I have gotten into as of date. As of today. Like it's that crazy. So we're trying to go ahead and double down on these winners. Are we buying the token after TGE? I'm personally not. I'd rather just get my wins and move forward with my life. If 𝐉 ends up 10xing from its current price point, we're going to be doing great. So let's talk about Huddle. I'm sorry it took us 5 minutes to do it, but I'm finally here. Where did I learn about Huddle? So Huddle I learned from the Aether ecosystem. We invested into Aether. They are pretty much the huge cloud computing play, and they're actually integrating decentralized real-time communication through Huddle. Huddle is actually very unique because Huddle was born off of what was a hackathon. It was literally just a small little hackathon here that was happening, and they realized very quickly that there's a problem. There's a problem. AWS is really expensive. It is really expensive. And so we want to go ahead and create this video meeting and audio spaces app infrastructure for RTC at a bigger vision, which they're going to go ahead and do their testing in Q1 2024. And that all happened because of the ETH Global Hackathon. So it's way too expensive through places like AWS to get your information these days. And they want to make it cheaper. And they're doing it through what Huddle is. Now, they have, of course, these media nodes that we're going to be talking about. They have the SDK, which is a plug-and-play SDK to enable audio, video scalable up to 10,000 users across AI, GameFi, Metaverse, big buzzwords. And they have the applications, which you can actually host live streams. I can live stream from the Huddle01 platform. So what other things should you know about these media nodes? And something big that I've been looking at for a lot of these new nodes is this right here. You get 20% unlock at TGE. So that means 20% of all tokens that this thing's going to give you is coming the second that this thing launches. So in Q1 of 2024, we can expect that 20% of all the tokens will be given to you. Also, another big thing for people that get in early is you're going to be able to get 5 Huddle per day per NFT key during the testnet. So this means that the second you buy these things, in a couple weeks, you're going to be able to actually run this on testnet and get even more tokens. So we're stacking our wins before this thing has even launched. It has immediate vesting, which means that over the next 2 years, we're going to be getting all these tokens over time until we get all of the tokens that these nodes actually give you. But the thing is, you don't have to wait. And something quite fascinating, if you actually look at their token distribution, which I think is important these days, a lot of their big players, so 40% of the supply, that's a lot of the supply, is going to be unlocking. That is going to be happening no matter what. However, they don't get any tokens for the first year. A cliff means that they don't get anything for that period of time. So they don't get any tokens for the next year. I'm talking about year. So 40% of supply does not exist for your first year of vesting. So half of your nodes ROI, or more than half because you get 20% of TGE, all of that is going to be coming before these core contributors and investors get a single token. And then, of course, they have their 24-month linear vesting afterward. But this is important. You should have your ROI, logically speaking, before the investors get all their tokens, because that's 40% of the supply. That's an enormous part of the supply that is going to be unlocked. So we want to make sure that we're getting what we need to get. And of course, we're getting incentives as a result of what we're getting before all this craziness begins to happen. Simple as that. And so that's what I think is going to be happening after the 24 months happening. They have these rewards. They give them to operators for the consistent demand on the network. They're actually going to be using these nodes, and this is what these nodes are used for. So they are the unit for their actual network. They utilize your unused bandwidth. You can run it with other providers if you don't feel like running it yourself, to handle data streams and tasks like encoding, decoding, mixing, routing, audio, video packets, acting as a mini data center scattered across the globe. So there are plenty of these big tied-in data centers that are super expensive that you buy through AWS. And then you have us, which are the media nodes, which are going to be able to run at a fraction of the cost. And by fraction, I mean 95% cheaper. So way cheaper. So it makes sense why these things exist. And before you go, this can be done without crypto. Sure, right? Anything could be done without crypto, but these guys have found it that retail, the guys buying the nodes, the venture capitals, all that, they are way easier to distribute across a bunch of different points. And so that's the logic behind getting these media nodes in as many places as possible. Helium was a great example of this. They did something with T-Mobile with their phones. And I actually got my Solana phone here. And this phone, I could run through the Helium network. And it's been incredible in terms of performance. I earn the Helium token. I get tons of stuff. I actually think of Huddle as kind of the Helium of not only the node space, but of the audio and video recording space. So that's my logical representation of what I think these Huddle nodes actually are and why I think it makes sense for me. In terms of the media nodes, that's kind of the big shebangery that you need to know. If you're not someone that is incredibly, into the tech, then that's the TLDR of all this. I'm not going to bother going through this. You can pause it, read it if you feel like it. But in my opinion, if you're 95% cheaper than AWS, you are very competitive, extremely competitive. Their token network is pretty much simply the exchange for all transactions in this network, giving the node rewards, staking, one of the avenues for customers and end users to make payments. Before people think this isn't sustainable, there are examples like Helium, which have done quite well for people that actually participated within their network in one point or another. I remember when those Bobcat miners were going absolutely crazy back in the day. Now, in terms of their node cell dynamics and what we're expecting for this node cell. So they've got about, I believe it's 20,000 whitelisted nodes, something like that. It's first come, first serve, so it's not guaranteed. But that's why I said, in the beginning of the video, it was what, 9,379. I'm going to try. That's how much I'm whitelisted for. But whether or not I actually get it or not is, it's up to interpretation. I'm going to try my best. It's at 12:30 in the morning at midnight. So we've got node prices going from 0.122 in ETH all the way up to 0.19. It's not a crazy amount. I would say personally, the first 3 tiers are the golden goose tiers and the ones that have the best implied fully diluted valuation. You could see it actually right here. It goes all the way from 71 million from tier 1 all the way to 88 million for the last tier. You also get what is 10% off with code JM, which is my personal code. I get a kickback from that. And on top of that, for the whitelisted one, if you're on there, you get 10% off on top of that. So you get 10% off for JM. So that's 10, right? And then we get 10% off for the sale, which is 20%. It's actually it's huge, right? You're stacking the wins. If you get it on public, then you just get the 10% off with the code. It's just simple as that. Now, I think 20% off 71 million is actually pretty attractive. I mean, we're hitting the 50 mils at that point, the high 50 mils. So considering most of these node projects have done much better, I'm not expecting it to do carve, right? But I mean, if this is 750 million, 1.8 billion, Miriam right now is at about 104 million. Hytopia is at 53 mil, but didn't do that well. Even in the worst case scenario, it's still pretty good. Still pretty good. And we're expecting, of course, when this thing launches, for it to perform at a heightened level. I don't think I've ever seen a launch that goes below that. I mean, that'd be absolutely crazy. It could happen. It could absolutely happen, but it's not something that really happens very often. So in terms of taking my risk, that's okay. In terms of when we're expecting this token to actually launch, it's supposed to happen in Q1 of 2025, so I'd expect sometime in January. In the end of November, they're going to have their testnet, which is when you're going to be able to run for those extra Huddle tokens. And also, we're expecting the mainnet at a similar time frame to the token generation event. So when the token launches, we're also expecting the mainnet, which is going to be when you can go ahead and sell those tokens on the testnet. So we're expecting that around the same time as the TGE. In terms of KYC, I've been asked this many times from people in the US. I've got to say that in terms of countries that are restricted, US is often one of them for crypto nodes. I have talked to the team and they use Synapse for their KYC services. You need ID verification. So if you have an RNS ID, which is a Palau ID, if you're in the crypto space, you should have it. I think digital sovereignty is an enormous privilege to have in this world, not just in crypto, but just in general. You can get a completely legal ID for what I don't know, like $200. You get an absolute plethora of advantages for having it. I use personally the Palau ID, and if you're in the US and you want to get into this stuff, totally legal, that's what I use. Of course, there's other list of stuff that's also restricted, but if you do end up getting into it, that is what I would personally go ahead and use. In terms of their audits, they've already done an audit with Quill Audits. I am not the biggest fan in the world of talking about audits and making them seem to like be a big deal. You could definitely still get exploited and stuff like that. So it kind of is your own DD by checking it out, but seems like it's okay. And the last thing is that he actually has a video of him purchasing these nodes, so you can actually know exactly what you need to do when the day comes to buy your nodes. So you see right here, you enter the promo code, you put JM right there. It gives you that 10% off. He goes ahead and you can see the tier 1 at 0.122 ETH. He purchases the amount. It's going to say a certain amount remaining and a maximum per wallet. So right there it says 80 per wallet. And he goes ahead, presses the purchase button. And that is pretty much it after he goes ahead and confirms this transaction. So he confirms transaction, waits a little bit, and then boom, you got your Huddle01 media node. It's super easy stuff. In terms of when this whitelist sale is happening, it's happening tomorrow at 12:30 a.m. Eastern time. So very soon, actually. Their public sale is happening the 8th of November at 12:30 a.m. EST. So 2 days after the start of the whitelist sale, the public sale is happening. And that's pretty much your TLDR on Huddle. I hope that I helped inform you. If you did, like and subscribe. Discord, link in the description if you want to get into more node sales, learn more about the crypto gaming space. Till the next time, stay classy, and that's all.